Hello, folks. Welcome to our very first passion project brainstorming call of 2025. It's really exciting to have you all here. Go ahead and once you are ready with your question, go ahead and click on the raise hand button in the reactions toolbar. We'll go ahead and get a student order going and we will start taking inquiries. Uh, Additionally, if you can have any of your brainstorming up with you, anything written down, make sure you have that as that is super duper handy. It helps just to have notes on hand, and I will be ready to take notes on my end as well. Alrighty. Alexis, let's go ahead and get started. What are we discussing today?
So I had two questions. I had one question about passion project and one question about class selections for next year.
Okay.
Um, so for class selections, I'm in a leadership specialty center, so I have to take like AP Literature, AP Government, and a capstone class where you like do a community service project. And then I'm gonna take AP Calc, and then I have like room for like one more class that I wanted to take like an AP math or something because I'm plan to major in economics. So I'm between AP stat and we also have an AP econ class. And I've been like my math teacher told me about like AP stat and how it's like very important for like real world application math, which is part of economics, but it's more of a niche part of the major. So I wanted your input on whether you think it's better just go for AP econ or whether it's fine to go with like a more niche class in AP stat.
No, absolutely. Either one of those classes would probably be very solid to take. My inclination would actually be to take AP Economics for one reason and one reason only. If you take an economics course over the summer at your local community college, right, that is still showing interest in your given major, it's showing that you're wanting to further pursue that, but it's also showing that you're willing to take the time out of your schedule during the school year simply to focus on the fundamentals that will build up towards a better understanding of economics. So,
Mhm.
my personal take on this would be to take AP statistics and then plan on over the summer taking a college level at a community college economics course. That would be my
Mhm.
play.
Thank you. And then for my second question about the passion project, so my sort of website is like up and running, and I know that I think in Teachable it says you should sort of post partner websites that like relate to what your passion project is to sort of give you like credibility and like exposure to other stuff.
Mhm.
So part of my passion project is I have a mentorship board which has like professionals in the economics field. So I feel like that already sort of gives me credibility. So do you still think like posting partner websites is still like a worthy like endeavor to do, or do you think it's not as necessary?
My thought is that it's helpful still. It shows cross-reference, it shows engagement with the community, it shows you're continuing to do your research. And the other thing with this in particular is that if you can find websites that discuss the statistics, or
Hmm.
the stats really. So like
Hmm.
anything where it's like, here's an interesting website where you can look at research studies that I am referencing in my discussions. That's also showing that people can go and do their own research, come away with their own conclusions. It's also giving that little bit of citing your sources, which shows a level of professionalism. So
Hmm.
in this case, I would still recommend it. It's probably not going to be quite as essential. So it's not necessarily like, here's people doing similar things,
Hmm.
unless you go and collaborate them with them. In this case, I would use it more as a, hey, when I'm talking about this, these are the references I'm studying. Or these
Hmm.
are the studies that I am referencing. You can find them here.
Hmm. And if I do post the like fellow or partner websites, my little worried about where I'd post them because my website like it already has like I think a podcast tab, a like workshop tab, and then mentorship board and like an about me tab. So where do you think is like the best place to like post it on the website?
Okay. You could either do it potentially under the About Me tab, or
Mhm.
I know like making more tabs can get really messy.
Yeah.
Um, you could also change your About Me tab to be about potentially About Me and resources, right?
Hmm.
You could do it sort of in that way. Additionally, since I don't have your website right in front of me, is there a
Yeah.
chance that you could provide a link to it? Either on,
Yeah.
well, here, is there a chance you could provide a link to it, I guess, in Circle so that we can review it and kind of give some commentary that way?
Yeah, I have posted it in Circle, and I think someone has already provided feedback. I think
Okay.
Coach Whitney, yeah.
Okay, perfect. Would you go ahead and just post it one more time just with this specific
Mhm.
question of I want
Yeah,
to add this information, where would be the best place to put it? It doesn't make sense to create a new tab with all that I already
yeah.
have, or does it make sense to like put it within one of these subtopics?
Mhm.
And just give us that direct question with the link to the website again, and that would be great.
Okay, alright. Thank you so much. That was all my questions.
Thank you. No, I'm so glad we're getting the day started off right. Yay.
Mhm.
Alrighty, which brings us to Viva.
Hi, Coach Jenny.
Hello.
So sorry. I wanted to talk about a sort of new passion project that I'm kind of working on. So,
Okay.
recently I came up with this idea of writing policy memos. And my like academic interest is like applied math, and my personal interest is kind of like education policy. So that's kind of where I was like, I want something a little more like education related compared to my other passion project.
Mhm.
So, I had, like, started writing some, and I was kind of wondering on, like, how I should go about the format. Like, I haven't done my, um, 2.2 worksheet for this because 'cause I'm, like, confused on how I should go for it. So, like, I know typically for policy memos, you just, like, email them to, like, whichever, like, legislative people you're trying to reach out to. But for this, would I, like, post it on a website? Would I, like, have an email group? I'm kinda confused on, like, how to, like, present
Yeah, it
this.
depends a little bit on what your goal is for this passion project. So again, think of this in terms of solving a problem or in terms of what are you making actionable. So in terms of writing policy memos, do you want this to be something where teens can get engaged and they're able to campaign for different issues, right? If that's the case, then yeah, you would want to get at this on a website. You would want to get maybe an email list. You'd want to be posting about it on social media so that you could say, hey, if you want to email your legislators, like take a quick look at my website, you can find the template right there and you could send it off to, ABC policymakers in these areas, right?
Mhm.
So again, if that's the problem you're solving, that would be the way you want to go with it. If it's just something you're tackling on your own, maybe it's just something you're tackling on your own and it doesn't necessarily have a website, but it's something that you are tracking within a spreadsheet of, how many of these do I write? How many of these do I send? So that you can reference it once again for your essays down the line.
Yeah, I think, sorry, I just, like, remembered, I also wanted to, like, move like, I have, like, a related read section on my other website that
Mm.
kind of, like, had, um, website links and articles that were kind of similar to, like, education policy and, like, what people are doing about it. So I was gonna, like, kind of combine that aspect with this project, so I think I might do a website just so it's, like, convenient to look at, but I like the social media idea, I feel like that'd be good to get people involved too.
If that is the goal to get people involved, absolutely. Like again, create a website for convenience, create social media. And it can be very local. It could be statewide. Again, it depends on what policymakers you are reaching out to and for what causes, because some legislation happens on a very, very local level, county-wide. Some obviously happens on the state level, and some happens nationally. So, in terms of sort of what you're planning, just making sure that as you're creating social media posts, people are aware of like, hey, this is impacting these people and these areas. Here's where you can find templates, or like, here's how these issues impact you. Here's where you can find templates to message your policymakers, your local legislators.
Yeah, thank you, I think that helps a lot.
I'm glad. Hooray. Okay, then. Glad I could get that covered. That brings us to Nina.
Hi, Coach Jenny.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going good. So I like started my passion project with because I was gonna do like kids like before and kind of like help like like the kids that are like waiting behind in court like in family law. I
Yes.
reached out to like a minority counselor and then she said I could like help out like because I was kind of shadowing her. But we haven't really been able to take that much action because she's been like really busy this month. So I kind of wanted to start a new one. And I was thinking of maybe doing like a program with like a youth group who comes from like single parent households because my like main focus is family law psychology, but would that be a good idea? Or I don't really know how to like start that. Would I reach out to like a college or how would I find these youth groups?
Yeah, so youth groups, that's a great question. Where would you find those? I would ask local libraries. I would ask community centers first and foremost. Those would be the first two places that I looked. So libraries and community centers. And the reason I bring up community centers in particular is that they'll often have youth programs, and
Mhm.
sometimes those youth programs are directed towards different people, right? So, or they may be able to say, like, hey, yeah, we run a youth program. It's maybe not directed towards the specific type of kid, but like you could then potentially host a program through them directed at that certain type of kid. I know a lot of my local community centers host, and this is obviously not single family households, but I think of like LGBTQ
Mhm.
kids, right? How identity might impact family, things like that. So you have options. It may be helpful to kind of think of this as the research phase, right? In terms of, again, what youth groups exist? What do they exist for? What members of the community are they serving? Either how can we better serve those, or where can I create a program to uh intervene? It's not, yeah, basically it's has an intervention with like other groups that maybe aren't getting served yet.
Okay. And then once I start that, would
Hmm.
I wait. So wait, hold on. I just forgot my question. So
Yeah, you're
okay, so
okay.
once I start that youth group, would I like build like a website and everything for it? Or like I
If
don't know.
you're
I was
doing
kind
it,
of stuck on this.
yeah, no, and I understand why, because it's like this gets a little bit into that gray area, right? Especially because if you're doing a youth group through a library or through a community center, chances
Mhm.
are you wouldn't create your own website. It would go on their website. Now, you would still use that as a reference again when you're applying to colleges saying, hey, look, like in my additional info section, here's, the program that I helped run through this community center. You would link to them instead of to your own website, right? But with that in mind, there's a tiny part of me. Let's not give up on this idea yet of potentially
Okay.
creating this youth group. I don't want to give up on that, especially if you're excited about it.
Would
You
I
kind of,
like
oh, go on.
would I like try to partner up with a college? Because I was talking to like the senior who was kind of helping me out, and then he did like because he's into like juvenile criminal justice or something, so
Oh,
he created a youth group with like Chapman in like a law setting, I think. Like I think he created a youth group law court or something. I kind of forgot, but he like partnered up with a local college, so should I try that? But I haven't really been able to find like a local college that has like a lot of family law really, or like even like when I'm like researching, like trying to find research positions, I haven't really been able to find that. Can
got it. Yeah. First things first, this contact sounds like a great source of info. I would contact on specifically like how they did it. I'm saying he, but like specifically like how did you do this? How did you recognize this need? How did you set it up? How did you get the interest in the people involved? So I would, if possible, interview, just like or casually ask questions and get the info on how that happened so that you can kind of scaffold. As far as if you're not necessarily finding that there is a lot of involvement in the community for that kind of a thing, right?
Mhm.
I'm not unconvinced that libraries and community centers wouldn't be good resources
So should
potentially for you. Oh, sorry, go
I
on.
okay. So should I start with that, but like should I like try to find like a maybe like a local college that's like with like professors in like family law and then try to partner with them to try to like make this happen or that
See if
be
that exists. If that exists, absolutely use that as the resource. The reason why I recommend libraries and community centers is because they're doing similar things in like serving community, right?
okay.
And if you are able to have like, queer teen night, why couldn't you have like single parent teen night, right? Where like teens from single parent families can come in and can like do activities with you or discuss or get some kind of, you know, support that way in like peers.
Mhm.
So it's why I would recommend at least tapping those two resources and seeing like, is that something that we could do? Is that something that feels like a need in the community? The other thing is that you just mentioned that you haven't really been able to get this other project quite going yet, simply because that person has been really busy.
Yeah.
Um, One of the things that I would potentially reach out about then is, h- and to this professor, right, or to this
Uh,
professional,
yeah.
yeah, is basically to say, hey, I know that you're really busy and I know that I can't monopolize your time with this. You are a really busy person. Are there other people that I could contact to continue to get this ball rolling in lieu of you and I like being able to work, so many hours a week? Like, are there other colleagues of yours that I could reach out to? Are there ways that I can get this rolling?
Okay. And then I talked to Coach uh Julie about this earlier, but like for volunteer stuff, I know it's not really that related, but
Yeah, no, it's
would
okay.
I should I like start on a lot of them right now? Because she told me like it was kind of like an introduction because I already have a lot of hours from like church with like caretaking with younger kids. So if I'm doing like family law psychology, would I need to like find like two or three volunteering where I really need to put a lot of time in? Or because she recommended for me to just like move on to like trying to look for research positions or get involved with like projects like that.
Hmm. I think that that is going to be, if possible, a great. So I guess let me just make sure that I'm understanding the question. Are you asking whether you should be looking for volunteer hours or whether you should be doing the research position, or are you talking about prioritizing research position over passion project? Just
Oh, just the volunteer hours and research
okay.
position.
Okay, absolutely the research position.
Okay.
Because the thing is that one of the tricky things here is that volunteer hours, obviously, like many schools have requirements for these. You should absolutely fill those.
Mhm.
With that said, because so many people do volunteer work, unless it is one of the things that we discuss sometimes is, okay, is community service and is volunteering one of your academic interests or personal interests? If it's not really either of those things, it's something that you put the time that you need into it and then you put your focus elsewhere because again, you're trying to build a cohesive narrative, right?
Yeah.
So given that you've done community service hours already and given that your passion project is in a way a community service even if you're not clocking hours, in
Mhm.
order to fully round out that narrative, the research position is going to be one of the things that we recommend to kind of diversify and to show that you have gained experience working with professionals in the field.
Okay. And then so can I like I'll look more into it, but can I post it on Circle and can you like get back to me and review like what I find in it?
Oh my gosh, yes. We can
Okay.
do that. We can do that.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Hope this was helpful. Alrighty. I believe that brings us to Aryan.
Hi, Coach Jenny.
Hello. How's it going today?
All good. How are you?
Doing well, doing well. What are we discussing?
I had like two questions. My
Okay.
first one is I was wondering what courses should I do like with my local college over summer because like my personal interest is biology and I've like narrowed it down to molecular biology and again narrowed it down to like cancer research. So I was wondering what should I do over summer for that?
Okay. So, as specific as you can get. So, with local community colleges in particular, I will be very honest, they will offer some level of specificity, but not necessarily the most specific. And one of the things that will often wind up happening is that courses will have prerequisites. So, you'll have
Mhm.
to like take base biology before you could take like a molecular biology course, right?
Yeah.
With that said, if they do offer a molecular biology course that you could take, absolutely take it, right? Now, one of the tips that I will give is sometimes they will let you take classes concurrently. So, for instance, if there's a prerequisite of base biology in order to take molecular biology, you can ask for one of two things. You can ask, A, can I take a test to see if I could test out of your base biology course? If they let you take that test, take it, see if you could take molecular biology. If for whatever reason that doesn't work, ask, hey, is it possible to take the prerequisite concurrently with the molecular biology course? That means you'd be taking two classes over the summer, but it means that you would be taking that base biology course as well as the molecular biology. That gives you that level of specificity again. So those are just kind of
Okay.
two tips I would recommend, but effectively find the balance between as specific a course that you can take to your academic interests, but know that you might have to do a little finagling.
Okay, yeah. And my second question was that what passion project would like work along with my academic interest? Like my personal interest is community service and like leadership, because like so far I'm like sophomore year and I already have like 180 hours. Like yeah, I really love community service as a
Okay.
Boy Scout too. So
Okay. I'm putting
yeah,
that on there because that's often, I think Boy Scouts often do a project towards the end of their tenure,
yeah,
right? So
yeah. I have to start my Eagle project soon,
that's
but
the one. Thank you.
Mhm.
So absolutely, if there's something that you can incorporate into this, and because you mentioned cancer research, right? So in terms of what kind of projects you can do, the question always becomes like, what is a problem in the community?
Yeah.
And when I say this, a particular community is defined differently. Sometimes it's very, very local, right? And we do things that are very, very local. Occasionally, we do things that are very specific but aren't necessarily local. One of the examples I love to give is that I have a family member who has undergone multiple very hefty surgeries. And it turns out that after major surgery, there's actually a higher risk during your recovery that you will develop diabetes, that you will develop all these other comorbidities and other health issues, right?
Hmm.
And one of my personal interests happens to be cooking. One of my academic interests was like English and English education. So all of a sudden it occurred to me like if I had to build a passion project today, it would be building the post-surgery cookbook so that people would know
Oh,
how to like effectively feed themselves after major surgery. That's very specific. And it's not really local because like how many people do I meet in my daily life like that? But it is a very specific community that I am addressing. So in this case, knowing that you're interested in cancer research, the question becomes like, what is a problem in the cancer community, right? And
yeah.
for instance, I'll just give you a quick little dose. One of the things that I could think of immediately, because I have a friend whose mother is in remission, it's like in recovery from cancer. It's very exciting. But one of the things that has occurred from this is that during cancer treatments and immediately after cancer, you are very immunocompromised, and it's very hard to socialize when you're having to take into account the health of people around you and whether or not they could get you sick. So, is isolation a problem? Is loneliness a problem for cancer patients? If so, what does it look like to build up a community of people who will, you know, have certain vaccination statuses, who will go in masked, who will like actually have a good time with, recovering cancer patients in a way that is safe for them to interact.
Okay, yeah, I see.
So do some research, but yeah, ask yourself like, what is a problem within the cancer community, and what can I do to solve it?
Okay. And also there's like a cancer like area, like a cancer like building. I don't know if it's research or
Okay.
like treatment based, like near me. And so like should I ask to like if I as a high school student could like shadow a doctor possibly, or what should I do?
I would absolutely reach out, check their website to see if they have any programs for teens first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't see anything like that immediately on the website, look on the website for a contact, either a general info or if possible, a volunteer coordinator, and ask, "Hey, I am a student who's really interested in, engaging in cancer research. I'm wanting to, find out what potential opportunities are available either for shadowing or for partnering as I build up different, projects to help aid, the cancer survivor community. Can we get in touch? Who can I talk to?" And absolutely do
Okay.
reach out to see what kind of opportunities are available.
Okay. Yeah, that was pretty much it. Thank you
Okay,
so much.
absolutely. Thank you. All right, and double checking on my end. I believe that brings us to Laxmi.
Yeah, hello. My name is Isha. This name's my mom.
Okay, say that. Oh, hello, Isha. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. So I had two questions actually. First of all, I'm taking AP Physics in 10th grade. So I was wondering, should I take physics in summer?
What is your academic interest?
CS.
One more time?
CS,
Thank
like
you,
computer
CS.
science.
In that case, no. You want to take over the summer, and this is for everyone involved, so everyone who is here, keep this in mind. Over the summer, you want to take courses that are closely related to your academic interest. So if you can get a computer language course under your belt, if you can get a computer science for some specific topic, anything that is going to be related to CS is going to be what you want to prioritize for a summer course.
Okay. And then second thing, I last time I came here, you had suggested that I do like a dealing with kind of thing for my passion project.
Okay, yeah.
And then I looked through that, but I think it's like a bit more common. So I was wondering if there's like any other unique things I could do for my passion project.
Ooh, it's a good question. So with regards to computer science, what are problems in the CS community? Or what are
Okay.
problems within your community that could be solved through computer science?
Okay. Okay, I'll look through them and then I'll try to find like problems and then some solution to that.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can always get us up to date, right? You can always shoot us like a little post or a little comment saying like, "Hey, here are some problems that I've encountered. Can we brainstorm additional ideas?" And we're absolutely happy to help with that. That's honestly some of the work that I love best.
Okay.
Um, but yeah, when you're talking about like problems within communities, off the top of my head, like problems within the CS community, gender gap, accessibility, to some degree in terms of computer science, like one of the things that's kind of weirdly cropping up is like computer literacy. So the difference between being, having literacy around your phone and tablets and apps versus like what does it actually mean to open up a computer program? What does it mean to be able to recognize, for instance, a scam? Right? Things like that.
Yeah.
Additionally, problems within the CS community. What does it mean to be a senior who like maybe is having to convert over to a lot of virtual or digital stuff and doesn't know how to work it or finds it very confusing? uh what are problems that in your community that could be solved through CS? Like, are there databases that are needed? Would it be really great if students had, I don't know, a way to check traffic specifically around the school day kind of thing? So just things like that. What are problems that exist either in your community or within the CS community? And those would be the two questions
Like,
I'd ask.
what would you suggest like I took like an action for that?
For which one in particular?
If I'm doing accessibility.
If you're doing the accessibility of computer science, okay. First of all, you're going to have to do some research about who is having trouble accessing it. So is it, again, kids who are wanting to learn? Is it adults who are having to relearn? Is it the weird gap that we have where like one of the things that I think of frequently is that I have to explain to my mother, right? Because my mother's of an older generation. So I have to explain to my mother what a window is, but I find that I'm also having to explain what a window is to people younger than me sometimes. Because when you're so used to, again, working on apps, well, what is, a browser window? What does that mean? So again, in terms of, is it a question of language? Is it a question of the knowledge? Is it a question of like kids not having access to this, of older adults not having access to this? I would do some research on your end to figure out where those gaps are happening. And I will say this is very much the research phase. So here,
Okay.
in terms of accessibility, research where gaps happen. Obviously, there's also a gender gap in a lot of this, like how many women are computer scientists versus men. There's gaps as well occasionally in terms of like other demographic information, socioeconomic, ethnic, you name it. So I would take that time, I think, to figure out where those gaps are happening and figure out which ones excite you as far as, oh man, I'd really like to solve that one.
Okay. I'll look through them and let you know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I'm really excited. I look forward to seeing where this goes. Alrighty, which brings us to Camilla.
Hi.
Hello.
Okay, so I'm not really sure what I should do to start my passion project.
Okay.
Mhm. I've identified what I want to major in, or like some ideas, and then I've identified some like problems, but I don't really know how to like do some action on them.
Okay. Well, let's get started then. Let's see. So we have academic interest. I'll put personal interest up here, and then we'll also just write problems.
Okay,
So academic interest, what do we have?
so I really like environmental sciences and neuroscience.
Ooh. Okay.
Been having trouble like trying to find somewhere where they meet in the middle.
Okay. Absolutely.
Okay, and then some problems I found.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a reserve in my neighborhood, and a lot of people are worried that it might be like a huge fire hazard. It's not really mandated or like regulated at all.
Okay.
But I guess that's sort of a problem. There's a creek in my house, that runs by my house, and it has a lot of toxic runoff from the water treatment nearby. So people are like worried it's running to like our groundwater for all our plants and stuff.
Okay.
And then I was like, because my dad's a doctor, and I've noticed like clinics are like they're really boring, and I think they stress people out. So I was thinking about something like making hospitals more green spaces to like reduce oxidative stress.
Ooh.
Um, Same thing about the nursing center in my neighborhood, because it doesn't look like a place you might be. It's just like a bunch of like red brick buildings. So I was thinking incorporating like making it more green there, because also like it hasn't been really taken care of by the state. All the grass is dead. I used to play soccer there.
Okay.
Um, those are some problems. Not too
Cool.
sure what to do about them.
Okay. I want to hop into these in a quick second. In terms of like, wow, PS, good job, Jenny. In terms of personal interests, can you list out a couple of those for me? I'm guessing soccer is one of them, probably. You mentioned.
Soccer, uh-huh. Photography, botany, dancing, um, writing, yeah, that's it.
Okay. Okay. I love this. So there's a lot of really interesting things you can do here, I think. There's a lot that's potentially really interesting you can do. And a couple of these you may be able to tackle in different ways. You mentioned that writing is a personal interest, and there's a piece of me that does wonder, like, oh, wouldn't it be interesting to see if you could like write templates to message to legislatures again about water toxic, like toxic runoff treatments, and how do we actually legislate things like that in there? If preserves are going to be like if this preserve nearby is going to be a problem for the neighborhood in terms of a fire hazard, which is I'm not gonna lie, something that's hot on my brain as a California resident right now.
Yeah.
So things like that are absolutely interesting things to take off. I love how specific the last one is. And that I feel like specifically plays into that idea of neuroscience and environmental science, because it's very much like, what is your mentality when you are in a hospital environment? Like down to the neuroscience, like what is it about those environments that stresses someone out? How does environment play into that? Right?
Mhm.
I feel like there is kind of a really neat overlap there. So the question then becomes, yeah, how do you make those into more of green spaces? Um, Weirdly enough, I mentioned earlier that my one family member has been through a number of medical procedures, so I am around hospitals a lot. And actually, one of my favorite spaces that I get to go to is a women's clinic. But specifically within this women's clinic, one of the walls is decorated with tiles where people have pressed in impressions of different plants. So the
Yeah.
leaves or the flowers or things like that. And then the botanical name of the plant is given, and they'll often like have carved in a little quote into the tile as well.
Mhm.
So is there a way to do an installation like that, for instance? Is there a way to get people to maybe go outside and, in maybe at that local preserve, in fact, like be able to do some plant identification, engage, do some drawing, and then you're able to potentially team up with a local hospital to decorate the walls in the drawings of those plants. if you're actually looking into planting, reaching out to those hospitals and saying, who do I need to contact in order to greenify these spaces? Can you get a volunteer gardening group to come in and do that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So you have a lot of different potential routes that you could take with this. Honestly, you mentioned photography, and there's a tiny piece of me going like, could you create a series of like green prints to be putting in hospital rooms and things like that?
Mhm.
So you have a lot of different potential options. Um, does any of what have said now excite you, make you interested, or are you kind of thinking like, oh man, like Coach Jenny is talking about all this, but what I really want to do is
That sounds really interesting.
okay,
Um, yeah, that sounds really good. I was also
okay,
thinking about putting like actual plants into clinics,
okay.
instead of just like pictures of them. And then also one of my personal interests is robotics.
Ooh, okay.
Mhm. I was reading this article about LiDAR, like drone imaging of forests. You could
Ooh.
like the thing about the preserve is
Hmm.
um you're not really allowed to visit it under
Okay.
like so I think
But
that's kind of like a boundary, I guess. But
okay. No, that makes sense.
it'd be cool to make a drone that could like map areas of like I don't know, I was thinking about like local and invasive species or like
Ooh.
um places that are super dried out that might cause like a huge fire hazard. Um yeah.
Local invasive species, fire hazards. Also a potentially really neat project idea.
Hmm.
You mentioned bringing actual plants into clinics. Honestly, kind of love this concept, especially because depending on the clinic or the hospital, one of the things weirdly that crops up when you're immunocompromised is that pathogens in soil can actually be like a huge health risk. So
Hmm.
one of the things that I was told essentially as a caregiver was like, yeah, you can have plants in the house, but you need to change the water daily, and the immunocompromised person isn't allowed to do it,
Yeah,
right?
I've been
Kind of
told
thing.
that.
Yeah, so it would be really interesting to see like, okay, well, are there plants that we can have in these centers that are not going to require that kind of maintenance? Maybe like soil-less plants, which do exist, right? Like, what
Um
are ways that we can intervene in that way to make it still safe for those populations? There's a lot of cool problems you could tackle with this.
yeah, because I was thinking there's a green wall in my house and it's all like
Oh,
mosses. So you could add like mosses in clinics and then it's soilless.
yeah,
But
there you go.
I don't know how to implement that.
You would want to talk to the hospitals themselves and ask, like, what would it take to get this kind of thing going? Would this be something you'd be willing to partner on? I really want to make these, more beautiful spaces, and I want to make these more calming spaces. Uh, Pulling any research. So when I mentioned research phase earlier, so research, uh, gather data about the use of greenery, plants, etc., in creating calming atmospheres. And I would go so far as to also say gather data
Mhm.
about the impact of stress on clinics, both for patients and care providers. Because if you can show that there is, a certain impact of stress on those populations, and then say, hey, but by incorporating these kind of things, we might be able to alleviate that. Is there a way that I could, you know, come in and create these art pieces, create these like literal living art pieces, right?
Yeah.
That we would be having, maybe it's you and like a couple friends or something, but like we have volunteers come in like twice a week to care and maintain these. And if in a
Mhm.
sense, like we would help keep this up for you and we would, try and alleviate that impact.
Yeah. That's good. Mhm.
It's a multi-step process, but I think research is going to be the first step. After that, it's going to be figuring out what clinics or hospitals nearby would be just around and then drafting a query to them. So I think those are going to be your first two steps is the research phase and the outreach phase. And I guess getting your 2.2 good to go so that we have just all that information in one handy dandy place.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely, yeah. When do you think we can expect to see your 2.2 by chance?
I actually started it last night.
Yes. Oh, super
Like,
excited. Okay.
bunch of ideas.
Heck yes. Okay. I guess any chance then that we could see that posted by end of week next week? So say by, I'm trying to pull up my calendar and it's not letting me pull up my calendar because of course it isn't. But by Friday next week, do you think we could see it by then?
Yeah, where do I post that?
Um, I need to remind myself of something really quickly before I answer that. Okay. What I would say is, within College Planner Pro, if you are able to, in the main chat, I would say, go ahead and post a Google Doc. I would say just take pictures and add the screenshots of your 2.2 document to that Google Doc, and we can leave feedback from there.
Okay, thank you.
Absolutely. Alrighty. And then Nitya.
Hi.
Hello, good to see you. What are we discussing?
Like my passion project, so I was planning on doing it with like the other like friends on like my basketball team. So that's like one like personal interest that we all have like in common. And then for academic interests, like mine's is human anatomy and physiology, and then also like psychology and neuroscience. And then all of theirs is basically just like biology and neuroscience, so it kind of works together.
Okay.
And then we were thinking of doing something like related to like special education children. But I don't know how that would like work with like my academic interest.
Okay. Okay. Specifically, again, knowing that it's human anatomy, physiology
Mhm.
slanted, right? Okay. It is not the clearest entry point of education. Now, it occasionally can be. And specifically, what I'm thinking about, though, is a very specific realm of special education, right? Which does occasionally include people with physical disabilities that also then impacts like brain development, right? I'm thinking of things like spina bifida, right? So it can bleed over. And I guess my question is with this, when you ask like you're not sure how it connects, are you, I just want to kind of make sure that I'm situated. Are you asking, oh, is this a project that I should continue with? Or are you saying, I want to continue with this project, but should I plan to set up another one?
I think it's more of like I want to do this, but like should I also do like something else?
Okay. I think let's get the one that you have running off the ground, right? That would be my first thought. Let's go ahead. If it's something you're interested in doing, let's go ahead and do it. In the meantime, by all means, like plan on research positions, plan on taking summer courses, plan on doing those things that are going to be very specific to your academic interest. And I think with this current project, once it is off the ground,
Mhm.
it would be helpful if I could spell. Once it is off the ground, really just reassess your time. And what I mean by that is how much time is this taking up? How much time can I give to it? Right? And in terms of, okay, like, is this serving me or are there other areas that I want to focus in on more? Once it's off the ground, it often doesn't need quite as much maintenance. So can you divest yourself from it somewhat to start up something new after? And I think that would be the method that I would recommend going with because it's loosely related and that they're both kind of like pre-med leaning.
Mhm.
But if we can get something more specific down the line, I think that would behoove you.
Okay.
There. All right. And then was there anything else?
No.
Okay.
Thank you.
Got it then. No worries. No worries. Thank you. Pull up. Okay, I did see Derek's hand go up briefly. Derek, do we still have you?
Yes.
Okay. Do we have questions today?
Yes, like I recently started this CTE pathway for medicine because that's what I kind of wanted to get into in the future.
Okay, got it.
And like with this, like there was also like they also had like a thing called like a CTSO. It was like for HOSA, and they offer like a bunch of different opportunities, like competitions, internships, that kind of thing. Like besides that, like I've also wanted to like do community service, like hospital work.
Okay.
Like the thing is like I'm not really sure like what direction I should be going to like appeal to like colleges for my medical interests. To like show them my interest in medicine and like,
Okay. I mean, you're already on one pathway for medicine, it seems, right?
yeah.
On CTE path. So that bodes well. With regards to like CTS for HOSA, competitions, internships, you can find competitions and internships on your own, and we do in fact recommend reaching out to professionals through our research position method effectively that we have, which I do recommend. With that said, in terms of all that you're wanting to juggle, some of this is going to come down to preference. So, for instance, if you're on the CTE pathway for medicine and you're finding it to be really in depth and you're finding it to be collaborative and that's really speaking to you, perfect. The follow-up question then is, you know, are you someone who enjoys competitions? Like, are you a competitive person?
I would say yes. Like I want to kind of test my skill and like push myself to like improve, you know.
Okay. At which point, HOSA might be something to look into, right? Like, competitions might very well be something to look into then. As far as community service, what I will say with that again is because it's something you're interested in, let's absolutely look into it. The best recommendation I would have is to look locally, see what hospitals nearby are accepting volunteers, are accepting people to come in and shadow, have teen programs. Take a look at the resources that are around you to tap into. And that might also give you some exposure in terms of once you want to specify, or let me actually back that up. Do you have a specific area of medicine you want to go into yet?
Oh yes, like I was thinking maybe like emergency medicine or pediatrics. I'm still kind of stuck
Okay.
between the two right now.
Okay. Emergent, whoop, see meta for pediatrics. Okay, cool. So yeah, being able to volunteer in a hospital environment might give you some exposure to be able to figure out which of those you ultimately want to go into. Um, Competitions and internships won't necessarily do, well, internships might, competitions won't necessarily give you the same thing. My thought with this, I think, is let's see if we can get to that level of specific. And from there, like once you kind of have that in mind and you have the specific area you're going into, you have potentially some research that you're gaining that you're coming into. I think from there starting to enter into competitions. Though I
Oh.
also know, well, that would be my recommendation. Can you join CTE and CTS at the same time, or are those two separate things?
Like actually like the CT pathway is what allows us to be able to join the CTS.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Got it. At which point then, yeah, start the inquiry process. Start inquiring as to what is the, because like you say, you're on the pathway to get into CTS. I would just start inquiring as to like what are the next steps to make sure that I am on the path to get into CTS down the line.
Okay. That was about it.
Okay, thank you. I look really forward to seeing where this goes. And then I did get, well, here, let me pull up really quickly. Yeah, Tamara.
Hi, sorry, I'm on my mom's device right now.
No worries. Can I get your name then?
Yeah, Henry. Nice to meet you.
Henry. Awesome. Thank you, Henry. What are we
Yep.
discussing?
So I just wanted some help, like kind of refining my major. What I was thinking about earlier on this year was mechanical engineering because I've done a lot of stuff with like, robotics and, building a drone, all that type of stuff. But I've, kind of looked back on like, what I've done, right? And also
Hmm.
done a lot of like, coding and electronics work and stuff like that. And I'm just wondering if it would be better to like kind of pivot more towards electrical engineering because that does have a lot to do with like, because for instance, I've like made a whole like AI business and whatnot, right? So it's a lot more like, I guess, soft-minded, rather than
Okay.
that those more like technical, skills that we're doing with like mechanical engineering. So I was just kind of wondering if you could, help.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's a couple different things that we can do here. Me, cool, cool, cool. Sorry, I was just pulling up something on my end. Um, have you gotten recommendations from us yet through Circle with regards to, hold on, I can make my brain work. With regards to exploring classes either through Coursera or through EDX?
I have not, no.
Okay.
I should I should just reach out to you guys via
Via Circle, ideally. Um,
Circle.
Coursera or EDX. So the reason that I mentioned these is that in terms of knowing which one you want to go into,
Mm,
um, ultimately, like it kind of depends on your interest. It depends on what you want to do, and it depends on what excites you. And one of the best ways to figure that out is Coursera and EDX are both certificate courses, and they do offer free courses. So the idea is not that you would sit down and take the entire course, but that you might sit down and explore a course for like half an hour to an hour and just see what the lecture materials look like, what kind of things they're exploring, and kind of just like what interests you and
mm.
see which ones make you go, "Oh man, like I was gonna spend, half an hour on this, and before I knew it, 3 hours had gone because I like couldn't get enough of it." Stuff like that is typically a good sign.
Gotcha. I mean, I
Um,
feel like a lot of what I've been doing is like kind of like resource management type stuff, like
okay.
for instance with the business that I created, right? It's like trying to allocate, funds to different small businesses and stuff like that and just try and like, give a lot more efficiency to all of their processes and whatnot. I've done stuff, just a lot of things about trying to like, get energy to be more efficient, get processes to be more efficient, stuff like that. So is there anything that you would recommend in that regard or
Are you interested in business? Because this sounds a little bit like business optimization and business management to some degree. Maybe not management, but like,
I mean, like I feel like the end goal would be to be at some, managerial position at like an engineering firm, but I don't think
okay,
my major itself would be business because I,
okay,
I do have a,
perfect.
a lot more of a passion for, the actual technical aspects.
Excellent. No, that's good to know. Thank you. It's why I ask.
Yeah.
So, with that in mind, God, that is so cool. There's a it's just always really cool for me to see this. I would absolutely I am going to follow up actually. I think I am going to follow up. I'm going to tag you on Circle and I'm going to try and get you a number of courses to at least start with. By all means, if none of those wind up sparking your interest, let us know. I just I feel like there's got to be an area of engineering that's all about like you mentioned like efficiency and allocation, right? I feel like that's got to be somehow its own area of engineering. I just wouldn't know what to call it.
I mean,
So I would need to do
I've
research
looked
on
a
my
little bit
end.
into industrial engineering, which is kind of what you're describing.
Yeah, there we go.
Um, but I've also talked to a bunch of people in the field, saying like I've talked to like some VPs at Boeing and people that have worked at Meta, like a bunch of different types of engineers, right? And
Yeah.
all of them have basically said, do not go into industrial.
What was
um,
their logic? I'm so curious.
basically it's within all of the other engineering disciplines it's looked on as like the lowest tier, and to like go into, kind of a more managerial position or something, mechanical engineering is a lot more of an effective route, um
Okay.
because you're both like looked at, more highly, and you also just have a more like well-rounded uh view on all of the different technical aspects of a business, right? So
Okay.
yeah.
I would want to do some research on that one to double check. I mean, don't get me wrong. I also do trust what pros in the field say. I'm
Yeah,
flabbergasted by that because to me the field just seemed incredible. But I'm coming at this once again from my like very education-based standpoint. Okay.
fair.
At which
And
point, I mean, it also sounds like you've gotten really valuable information. Yeah, let's see if we can get you some resources on the difference between like, or some classes that kind of go into depth mechanical versus electrical engineering. And
I was
let's
kind of
go from there. Hmm?
I was kind of looking at like, combined like mechatronics type stuff. The problem is I just haven't seen a lot of resources, and I know that like barely any colleges actually provide like a mechatronics major. Uh,
Yes. You
so,
would pick one or the other and know that mechatronics would be something that you would go in for like graduate level
yeah,
education.
and I guess given all of this, do you have any recommendations for like somewhere to start for like a passion project or something like that?
Oh, in terms of passion projects, so one of the phrases you'll keep hearing me bring up is problems.
Mhm.
So the question becomes like, what are the problems you're interested in solving, either within like the engineering field or problems that exist in your community where you're like, I could solve that with some engineering prowess, right?
Yeah,
And that really becomes the question. You do want it based in your academic interest somehow, but the balance truly then becomes like, okay, so again, what are problems in my community? And I'm trying to think of engineering pathway students we've had in the past and what they were doing. We had one student who was very interested in robotics and drones in particular, who effectively started a passion project monitoring the traffic around the school so that people could better plan like their leave and drive times and carpool
oh,
times based off of the data gathered from the drone to monitor traffic around the school.
that sounds cool.
So, like, again, people have done and that's hyper local, right? That's like a tiny problem at one school, but how relatable is that to other communities where like you're having to go to school and it's a mess every day?
Yeah,
So, with that in mind, yeah, look around yourself and your community for what problems there are and kind of like have fun and get creative with it. I don't necessarily know if I could just give you anything off the top of my head,
sure, sure.
but I would say, yeah, take this time for research and observation.
Alrighty, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you. I'm excited to see what you come up with.
Appreciate it. Bye.
Absolutely. Um, and I am getting myself mixed up. Love that. Alrighty. And I did get a message at one point, so I do want to make sure that I honor that. Kuzlin, did you have questions for us today?
Yes. Hi, Coach Denny.
Hello.
I have
What are we
a
discussing?
few questions regarding my like classes for next year and basically like I don't know passion project plan and college questions. So
Okay.
first off, like starting off with my classes, I'm not there's a few things that I know that I want to take,
Okay.
and others things that I'm not so sure on. So next year I'm planning on taking AP Calc, AP Stats, AP French, um, and that's basically all I'm very sure on right now. Um,
Okay.
because my academic interest is computer science, and so this year I'm taking AP Physics 1. And next year I'm not sure on what physics to continue on. Our school offers Physics C, Physics 2, or Physics, Electricity, and Magnetism, all AP.
Okay.
And out of those choices, I'm not very sure on what I should do because all other science choices I'm not really like into.
Okay. No worries. No worries. So AP Calc, AP Stats, AP French. As far as these three, this is going to sound a little silly of me, but bear with me. Since these are all marked AP, right? And knowing that you're interested in CS, these two are going to be the most immediately recognizable, right? Like AP Physics 2 versus like AP Physics C, right? Both of those are recognizable. Is there one that has a reputation at your school for being more rigorous? Not necessarily in terms of difficulty, but just in terms of sort of like almost prestige.
In terms of like the physics classes, I know that Physics C is essentially just Physics 1, except it's calculus based and focuses more on mechanics and things. But
Okay.
essentially, it would kind of be like a repeat of this year, but just with like a little more information. Physics
Okay.
2 is like the natural follow-up to Physics 1, but it's also still algebra based. And I don't know, I heard from some seniors that having a physics based in algebra and calculus would be a better option than like 2 algebra classes. And then
Okay.
for the last one, I believe it requires you to be like concurrently run with AP Calc BC, which I don't think is an option for me. So
Okay.
that's already kind of ruled out.
Okay. Got it. Then we'll just nix that. That's fine. At which point, honestly, either of these sound like they're fine, truly. It's going to be a little bit dealer's choice because they are both going to be rigorous classes. They're both going to be APs and give you that level. Um, if you, frankly, like with AP Physics C, if you're kind of feeling like, oh, let me put it this way. If it's a repeat of the last class, just with a little bit more in-depth information, I feel like that kind of sets you up for success in the class and it might incline me gently towards that one since you will be going into a number of rigorous classes and wouldn't it be nice to have one that was like a little bit of a oh I know what's going on here and I know what to expect.
Mm-hmm.
So tentatively speaking that one would be my recommendation, but it's dealer's choice in this case.
Okay. Gotcha. And then because my school requires me to have like 4 English credits before graduation, this
Mhm.
year choices for English are very like depends on the person. I'd say that so there's different options. I could either take AP Lit next year. This year I'm taking AP Lang.
Okay.
Um, I can do 2 senior electives, which is basically just like semester classes, 2 semester classes of like any choice.
Mhm.
Um, and then there's one where I can take like a college like English semester. Basically, it's like English 102 and then another elective.
Okay.
And it's
My
specific like
yeah,
UW schools.
got it. Yeah. My recommendation would be AP Lit. Stick it with like keep it within the school. It's not like you've maxed out their AP potentials at this point. Go ahead and just do AP Lit. Like if you were going into like politics or English, right? I might recommend differently, but just go with AP Lit. It's right there. It's easy. It gives you another AP. Let's go.
Okay, gotcha. Um, and then I think the last question related to English, do you think would you consider it to be worth it to continue taking chamber orchestra next year? Because this year I took it because there were conflicts within my schedule, but it wasn't really a problem because I've already been playing violin for a really long time.
Okay.
Um, and it is one of my personal interests, like music in general, but like the class itself is starting to feel like a little bit of a waste of time, and I'm not sure if I want to keep going for the sake of like continuity or just like drop it.
What would you replace it with?
Um, I have a list of like numerous other choices for the class that I could take. I have like a couple other engineering classes I can like get myself familiarized, or like business classes I could take, trying to like round or supplement my CS focus that I've had so far.
Okay.
Um, yeah.
Here's my thought with this, right? Violin might very well be a personal interest, but if the class that you're taking to play it is not feeling fun or good, take something else. Because again, at the end of the day, this is building up a profile of who you are and what your interests are. If this is an interest, but this class isn't serving that interest, we can go ahead and just drop it. It'll be fine.
Okay. And then I said one more question, but I lied. So,
Okay.
um, without my with like throughout my school classes list so far, I don't have like a social studies on there. And I got like advice from like someone else or like another college advisor, I guess, that like it was important to keep up with my core classes. So, I was wondering if it was like important to take a social studies even like in my senior year.
Yes. Yeah, I would say so. Again, for that sort of well-rounded, if you can get an AP, let's make sure it's an AP, if
Okay.
we can.
So then the question becomes out of like psych, Euro, and micro, which one of those would like help, I guess, supplement maybe CS in a way.
Okay, so what were the three options again?
AP Psych, AP Euro, and AP Microeconomics.
Microeconomics would be my grab. It's the one most closely related to like computer science, and it's one where like you could potentially like computer science is actually often used within the economics field, right? So that would be my thought there. Obviously, though, it also is going to boil down to interest. If they're all APs and you have a strong interest in a different one, by all means, you can give credence to that as well.
Okay. And so, in terms of my passion project, I've identified a problem that's related to my academic interest and sort of like personal interest, in which,
Okay.
so academic interest obviously is like my CS, but
Mm-hmm.
my personal interest along with music is philosophy. Um, I have like, I'm really passionate about philosophy, and so
Oh.
um, I came to like a conclusion like that, like obviously a widespread large problem is like of it's because like AI has become a real big focus of CS as of late. Um, but obviously there's a lot of controversies and things along with it. So I wanted to do something that solves, or not solves, but like brings attention to issues that AI might have within its like ethics in CS, bringing in like philosophy and CS to it. But
Ooh,
yeah, I'm not sure what a passion project for that would like look like.
specifically with the philosophy slant. And I feel like that's kind of the difference, right? Because I feel like we're seeing, like you say, with the sort of big rush and the predominance of AI currently, I feel like we're seeing a lot of like pros versus cons of this. What are the ethics of this? But specifically looking at the ethics from a philosophy stance, I feel like it's a really different, neat take on it. And it would depend a little bit on how you wanted to do this, right? So to some degree, what is the problem that you are solving?
Um, I think like the part I mostly wanted to focus on. Okay, I had like initial idea because I'm really interested in video games, and that's why I got interested in CS.
Yeah.
Like creating some sort of a video game. Um, essentially, like I guess I would talk about the dangers of AI. It's like got like a lot of environmental impacts and obviously a lot of impacts on human culture itself. Like humanity's like livelihoods, jobs and things. Art
Yeah.
is also a really important focus. And so maybe a choice-based game depending on like it like really depends on your actions and surrounding AI and things.
Ooh, okay. I mean, I love this as a concept. This sounds like fun. Um, I'm not gonna lie to you. I do not play the games, but I like to watch them. And one of the games that I have been playing through on a watch along right now is 1000 Times Resist. I'm not sure if it's one you've heard of. Apparently it got really popular. Okay. First of all, it's really interesting to watch get played through. Effectively, like you're talking about like choice-based game, and this one doesn't seem to be quite as choice-based, but it's very much taking you through a narrative of like a societal collapse following both an alien invasion as well as a pandemic. Pretty obvious nod to, COVID-19 and everything. So I'm wondering, yeah, how neat would it be to kind of like have a choice-based game surrounding, like you say, not just is AI good, is AI evil, but more how do our actions around the use of AI and the responsible use of AI impact the outcome of the game? I feel like that could be really interesting.
Mm-hmm. Because I think it's important to focus on like the idea that we ourselves are creating this sort of like reality for us, and that like okay, AI doesn't have like any choice. It's just doing what we tell it to. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so I think that choice-based aspect would be really important. But then again, I was thinking like, is video games like if I show this to the colleges, are they gonna get the memo?
Here's the thing. You can to some degree explain the memo, right? And additionally, just a side note, like, could the philosophers be PCs or important NPCs? Like, imagine, I don't know, I'm trying to think of like the philosopher in the machine, right? That, you're engaging with AI and the entire time, like, you're getting dialogue options also from like Immanuel Kant the whole time, right? Um, and like actually getting like these quotes from philosophy to kind of like guide your thinking or give pros and cons to your thinking could potentially be really fun. But in terms of like, will colleges get the memo? I think in this case, it's more of a this was a concept I was very interested in exploring. And in order to give myself room to explore it and give other people the chance to kind of like see ramifications and, engage with this topic in a way that doesn't necessarily feel threatening, that doesn't feel like getting lectured at, have moved to create this game. It may still be in the development process by that time, but like I've started developing this concept for a game where people are using their choices, like you say, to create their own reality around AI. I feel like that's honestly a really fun idea. I would love to see this game personally.
Yeah, that sounds really great.
Okay.
It's the only like thing is it's like okay, not one, well, all colleges get the memo, but also two, it's not as like I feel like um I'd say flashy, but like it's more like detail oriented. Like um I know that other passion projects like are people are focusing on like creating podcasts, websites, and things.
Sure.
And I don't know if it's okay if mine's just like, hey, I made a game.
I cannot remember if it was you that I talked to before about this. I know that we've had a student where like we talked video games and I talked about like what does it mean to be releasing, beta versions for people to play through like a chapter at a time? What does it mean to invite people to, come in and test out gameplay? What does it mean to like host a little stream potentially on YouTube where you're like playing through the first chapter and letting people get that sneak peek? What does it mean to release concept art or to have a social media page where you're like, um, I don't know, again, if Immanuel Kant is one of your NPCs, it's like, oh, Kant's getting mouthy today, right? As like as you're showing like the bug that you're working through. There are ways to still engage your audience and to kind of build something up where it is really interactive, right? But again, just in that way where you're showing the step-by-step process of like, I'm getting audience members involved. You could potentially be like reaching out to AI professionals and philosophy professors, getting their input to actually like so you can even ask like, hey, I really enjoyed our conversation today. I even jotted down some quotes from you. Would it be okay if I use, some of your quotes in this game that I'm building? That way you're actually using like real world words from professionals to build this up. That's all stuff you can do to kind of not only help build up the game and not only build up publicity around it, but show the impact of it bit at a time. Was
I
it you
see.
and I that had that conversation, or was that a different student?
I don't know.
Okay, cool. Well,
um, okay, and then I think my last main focus is so my academics classes and things have been very CS focused.
mhm,
I've been taking a lot of my school CS classes, APCSP, APCSA, data structures, like I took through like a college in our state, and um, game design and things.
okay,
I've done CMU CS Scholars program during the summer last year, and I'm taking its AI Scholars program this year during the
okay,
summer. So very CS heavy. Um, but I've also been wondering, like with like CS majors, like oversaturation and like decline in job availability, I guess. Like, um, would it be, is it like, would it be a good idea for me to have like a backup plan? And if so, I wouldn't know what to focus on. Like, what should I focus on?
Yeah, it's in terms of quote unquote backup plan, right? I don't want you to necessarily think of backup plan in terms of like, oh, I need to find a different major. When you're thinking in terms of backup plan, what I really want you to look at is what are the skills that I'm building here, right? Because it may wind up being that, like, when you do that career pivot down the line, or even again, like if you're in the thick of, say, getting your master's degree, right? And you're realizing, but wait a second, like, I don't necessarily see a future in this. The question then that you ask yourself is, what skills am I learning here? And how does that pivot? I'll be very, very honest with you. I keep on saying that my academic interest is English education. That is my academic interest now. When I was in college, I wanted to be a writer. I wanted to be a writer and I wanted to work in publishing. I very quickly, got an internship in publishing and realized I hated it. Realized that there was nothing in the world that bored me quicker. But what were the applicable skills? I had learned to analyze essays. I had learned how words can tell stories. I had learned how to build up stories. So once I got into education, I very quickly realized that a lot of education is around building stories, whether that's building a profile to hand to colleges, whether that's building essays, whether that's figuring out what your story is as you're building a passion project. So it's very much looking at the applicable skills. CS in this case, and especially game development, this is also around building us stories, but it's also around game mechanics. Maybe you don't wind up going into CS, but like of all things, tabletop role-playing games are very, very popular right now. So what does it mean to take all of your knowledge around working parts and pieces and mechanics and translate that into something else? So I would say stick with the major. You know you're passionate about it. You know you're excited about it. We're not about to start needing game coders and game developers anytime soon. There's a lot of really great games coming out in 2025. I was just having this discussion with people. So I would say that for that anxiety, just kind of be able to turn to yourself and say, it's okay. I'm building up a skill set.
Thank you.
I hope that's helpful.
Yeah, that was really helpful.
Yay. Life rarely goes where we expect it to, and that's okay. That's sometimes better, in fact.
I think that's all my questions.
Okay. I hope this was helpful. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Love a day where I suddenly get to talk about video games and probably surprise everyone. And I think that Ava left, so I will make sure to follow up with Ava via Circle. Everyone, thank you